Welcome back to another episode of What Teachers Have to Say. I'm Jake, Mr. Car on the Web, and this is Nathan, also known as 90s Male. It's good to see you again. We have just finished part one of, you know what? This is my favorite.
It's your favorite so far?
So far.
It's a very vulnerable episode.
I may have cried 3 times.
I think so.
Yeah.
I got a teary-eyed.
Yeah, so I hope that you'll stick with us. I'm just gonna give you the heads up. We start a little heavy. There's been some heaviness in education, but we get through it, and we talk about how relationship really truly is important, and we share some great stories from our educational experience. How did we get here?
Mm-hmm. Relationship is the foundation of everything.
Absolutely.
So.
All right, off we go.
Get through the heaviness. Get through it.
Get through the heaviness.
There's heartwarming after that, but it's true. But we can't sugarcoat what's going on out here.
Nope. It's almost like what teachers have to say. I know. I almost don't know how to start today. Because it's a heavy week in education.
It is.
It's a heavy week that we shouldn't pretend is normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about another school shooting in Nashville at a very small school. I don't want to get into it because it hurts a lot to think about. But we had already planned on this topic of talking about student relationships. And I think it's irresponsible not to bring some actual why. An actual why it's important. So, yeah, it's hard as a teacher. It's not safe as a teacher right now.
No.
And that's not something that you should have to think about. And then also for our listeners, and we're not going to be heavy this whole time. I wanted to bring it up because it's meaningful to what we're talking about.
It is.
And along with the national news, I don't know if our news has hit the nation, but for our listeners, a high school near us had an incredible tragedy happen where a 14-year-old girl hanged herself at school.
Yeah, that was.
Dive right in, huh? Like a 14-year-old girl hanged herself at the high school.
What high school was that again?
It was Lyndhurst High School in Oakhurst, California, Northern California. And that community has had trauma before.
Yeah.
So I don't want to live in that. I'm not ready to live in that space. But I don't have the skills to fix that.
No. That's so beyond.
And I hate to even bring it up, but if this is what teachers have to say, I think that we need to say we're being left to the wolves.
It's real out here.
It's real out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Multiple suicide attempts, multiple interventions stopping suicides in our county, and that is not normal, but it is everywhere.
It is. There's been a huge increase in suicidal ideation and suicide attempts, even at our school.
Yeah.
It's here.
It's here.
It's with us.
We can't us and them.
No, absolutely not. This is a deep problem, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier about children are like the indicator species.
Right.
When we were talking, you brought up when an environment is unhealthy, like the frogs and the spiders, and there's these indicator species that we see that, and I wish children weren't the canary in the coal mine, and I wish that we would care more. People who can make those changes.
Because
they don't.
And the way that I see it is that as an adult person, you have developed coping strategies. You have developed your way of being in the world in order to survive and in order to remain stable. And because as an adult person, you have responsibilities to take care of. You're definitely responsible for yourself and often responsible for many others, your family, for example. And children don't have those skills. They don't have those responsibilities. They don't have that framework. And that's what I see. The more that I work with children, the more that I see that they are deeply affected by everything that goes on around them. And they don't have a way to contextualize it or a way to process it or a way to move through it. And I think that really is what we're seeing. And that's what I was relating it to, where it's like children don't have these skills. And so they're especially vulnerable. They take everything in. And then things like this happen.
Yeah.
Because the heaviness of the world is resting on their shoulders. Like adults clearly are not. We're not fixing things. We're not standing between them and the world. We don't want to stay.
Yeah, we're not going to stay here.
This was actually meant to be like a feel-good episode because we've had such wonderful experiences as educators, and we were just talking about it yesterday. Like, oh, this is going to be so great. We'll share all these stories and experiences we've had. It'll be so good. And then it's just, there's just all this news that I just found out about this incident today, and it really,
Yeah.
I can't process it. I'm not.
No.
Because I'm an adult. I have to set this aside. I have to put this in a box.
Maybe there's a whole other episode of like teachers that experience trauma have to put it away to help other people. Mm-hmm. And that's not right. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Well, we do have feel-good stuff.
We have feel-good stuff.
Right, because...
if you got through what we just had to say... it'll be okay.
And I hope we don't alienate people. I'd be curious. Let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too heavy?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is that what they want? I don't know. But the whole reason, and I felt that had to be said and honored, because it's so hurtful out there. I'm a parent of 3 children, and I'm really glad that they're almost done with public education.
Yeah.
Like I only have a junior in high school and a one in middle school, and I'm really glad to know that like my wife and I have almost finished with this. Other than the fact that we're both teachers, but like I can't.
Right, but you got them through.
I got them through.
Right.
But the whole reason we were thinking about this was relationship. Right. And when I said like I don't know how to, I can't fix the whole mental health milieu that a student is drowning in.
No.
I can't. I don't know how to do it. I have my own struggles. Like I'm not a therapist. I'm not equipped for those. And why do I even feel the need to have to in public education? That's a whole other question.
Right.
But what I do have is the ability to form really good relationships. I'm good at it. I'm really good at it.
Same.
So let's move into that, because that was kind of what we wanted to do today. Was like feel good stuff.
Feel good stuff.
But yet it's not fluff, because it's actually like an incredibly important toolkit that we'll get into. Okay, so let's scene change. I have a quote. Scene change, dear listener. Carl Jung. We're always bringing philosophy.
Trying to bring some other.
I've heard from listeners that they like that.
Yeah.
So if you want more ed philosophy, here we go.
Here we go.
So Carl Jung, I love this. It says, One looks back with appreciation on the brilliant teachers, but with gratitude to those who touched our human feelings. The curriculum is so much necessary raw material, but warmth is the vital element for growing plant and for the soul of a child. I'm turning 47 tomorrow. I'm almost 50.
Happy birthday, Jake.
Happy birthday. And I look back at the relationships. I couldn't tell you the lessons that I was taught in elementary school. Maybe one on the gold rush, right? Maybe.
Right.
Because we got to pan for gold.
Do you remember what the curriculum was?
I remember playing Oregon Trail because I died of dysentery a lot.
Dude. There was
we got to touch computers. They were brand new back then.
Yeah, the literal floppy disks. I am old enough to remember that.
I am old enough to remember playing it on a cassette tape from a Commodore 64.
Whoa,
yeah, I'm way older than you are. But those relationships, you know what? I don't remember the lessons. I do remember things like Mrs. Clark telling me I did a really good job playing the giant in the class play. I had a giant cardboard box on my head, and that was the head of a giant. Yeah. And I remember I remember sad moments too, but it was still relationship. I had this crush on this girl. 6th grade. Here we go.
Classic. This is the
sixth grade.
Time. This is the time where it happens. Those grades.
Yeah.
And you don't know how to process those emotions at all.
No, gosh, no. All I know is that I feel weird inside, but emotions stick. And I love that Carl Jung says that warmth is the vital element for growing plant and the soul of a child. And so I thought it would be good to talk about how we as educators, how did we get here? Because anybody who knows us, we're pretty feeling people. We're pretty emotional human beings. We're not closed off. And there have been really important people along the way.
Absolutely.
That have really shaped me. So I wanted to tell you one story. So we're going to use names.
Yeah.
We're going to use names because names are important.
They are.
So Mike Jenga. I would love it if any of our listeners knew a teacher named Mike Jenga during the 80s and 90s in Paradise. He was a shift. He was monumental to me. And then I didn't even realize that all of the good that he did in my world as an English teacher, at home, as I understand it, he had a very ill wife.
Oh. Yeah.
Right? There was that. I don't know what was going on, but there was something health-wise that he was probably struggling with as a human being.
Yeah, sure.
And then still so uplifting. So here's my story. So in elementary school, so I grew up really poor. And not ghetto poor, a different kind of poor, mountain poor, which you do too, because you know that, right? It's a very specific thing.
Community, just slightly different eras.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So we grew up in the foothills of Northern California, barefoot, dirty children running around. And sorry, Mom, if you're listening to this. And God bless my parents. I didn't realize how hard they were struggling because they protected me from it.
Yeah.
It was really not until probably I was married, and my wife was like, "That's not normal."
Yeah.
The most angry I ever saw my mom was when, after standing in line for food at the Seventh-day Adventist church because the truck would come with government cheese and peanut butter, I opened the number 10 can, the big coffee can of peanut butter, and I poured off all the oil. Oh, no. And only a poor kid knows that. You're gasping because you get it. Because my mom, the most angry I've ever seen my mom was because I just ruined thousands of calories.
Yeah.
And protein.
Yep.
And I grew up hunting. I grew up skipping school and hunting to feed the freezer and things like that. But so in those lines, mountain poor. Everybody else was too.
Yep. It was a community that and still is. It still has that character for sure. But it's been through the opioid pandemic. The
opioid pandemic and the campfire and all of that. But so I wanted to tell you this story where in 5th or 6th grade, I was asked to join the GATE program. And so I'm not familiar. Is that a California thing or nationwide? It's like the gifted and talented special.
Yeah, gifted and talented in education is what it stands for. And it's like a different track in education that's slightly more rigorous than like
it's like
your standard
honors for elementary kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's little mountain poor me, and I was invited. It was like pullout, time. And so I was so excited that I got to go down into like the basement of the school in this tiny little, they probably took like a broom closet and they're like, well, we need somewhere for the gifted kids, right? It was this tiny little place. Right. I remember it. And I got to go to one session and we were going to build this whole newspaper and I was so excited for it. Right. And then, God bless my parents. They were doing what they could. They wouldn't sign the permission slip. Because, and I asked them as an adult later, they were afraid that it would cost too much money. Because my parents they're incredible parents. They're crazy. Everybody's parents are crazy. I love my parents. But like they're like blue collar.
Yep.
Right. They didn't know that back then, that like they were so afraid of something costing money.
Yeah. Because there's no margin.
Which is understandable. There was no margin of error.
Yep.
And so I wasn't allowed to do that. And then when I was in 8th grade, I got to apply for the honors program. And so I was going to go to high school, and I got into the honors English program.
Nice. And
back then, so this would have been like 1987, 88, something like that. Me with my blue hair. And yeah, back when I had hair. Yeah. And so they if I remember it correctly, there were 13 books that you had to read and write essays on during the summer. And
that's a tall order.
It's a lot. I actually think about that. I'm like, dang, that was hard.
That's rigorous.
For freshman English. And so, but that was the expectation, that you read these 13 books, and it was like, I don't remember the books. But Watership Down was one of them. Oh, really? I do remember that. I'm like, that's a meaty book.
That is. That's a heavy.
But anyways, I digress. Right. And so I showed up the first day of school not having read any of them because we didn't have the money to buy them. And I knew that. And I, being a little emotional freshman, which I always have been, I remember the first day of school being terrified to go to class, because to me, like, those were my people. Like, I was gonna get to be part of something special with people that liked school, with people that got to read books. Those were my people.
Right, that's your community. You're finding your people.
It was something that I knew was gonna be special. And back then I didn't recognize, I'm sure I understood that it was a little bit of a ticket out.
Absolutely.
Which we'll get to in another story too. So there I am, first day of school, terrified to go to class because I have not read any of the books. And I couldn't bring myself to go inside the class. And so I was sitting outside. It was an outdoor school, right? So sitting in the hallways, crying outside, which is really terrible for a freshman boy to do. On a high school campus on the first day of class. Yeah, that's Mike Jenga, bless his heart, he came out, and instead of taking the easy path, he took the hard path as a teacher, and he asked questions, and he found out why I hadn't read them. Right. We didn't have money. And I also look back and I'm like, that was so silly, because like I lived a block and a half away from the library. Right. Like as a teacher and an adult, now I'm like, well, this isn't an issue. Yeah. Here, come by the school. I'll load the books up, right? Right. But that's what Mr. Jenga did. Is he was like, no problem at all. He walked back into the classroom and he got the books, and he was like, hey, like, just read these and get them to me by Thanksgiving. And I've thought so much about that, because he could have gone so many ways. He could have said like, well, sorry, kid, like you didn't do the required reading, better luck. Maybe try again next year. Yep. And then go down to the counseling office and get rescheduled. Yep. He could have also said, oh, it's not important, just come in. Right. But he didn't. He took the hard way out as a teacher that made him extra work to have to grade 13 essays along the way, but he did it. And that was so meaningful. I was able to continue the honors program all through high school. It was incredibly meaningful to me because he took a moment. Right. That like Ted Lasso like is kind of pseudo quoting Thoreau or somebody, they think it's not really a real quote, where he says, be curious, not judgmental.
Right. Yeah.
And that was, that teacher did that. He took the time to recognize the whole milieu that I was living in. Mm-hmm. And that the answer wasn't, it's not important, or you don't get entrance.
Right.
He knew, like, nope, you have to do the thing.
Yes.
But I'm going to find a way for you to do it. Mm-hmm. That's a huge lesson.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's so, like, I like that you say that would add a lot of work for him.
So much work.
For one student, right? We were talking in the last episode about personalizing education for students and how difficult that actually is, and some of the ways that artificial intelligence is opening up some pathways into doing that. But, back then, it was just like, okay, it's you and me, bud. Like, it's definitely, that's a significant amount of extra work for a teacher to take on, and like a sidebar education for one student.
Yeah.
And teachers that take the time to do that and expend that energy, like, that is a truly special moment. You have a really important choice to make when you have a child like that in front of you.
Well, and I was thinking, literally the same high school where my dad graduated with, and his English teacher said, if you promise to never come back to class, I'll pass you with a C. And if you knew my dad, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, God love him. He was I can't imagine as a teacher having my dad. I also look back and I'm like, oh, dyslexic, not diagnosed, different learning disabilities, hearing problems. Mm-hmm. Sorry, kid, just don't come back to class.
Yep. And that is the easy way.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
I know that scarred him for his whole life.
Yeah. Like, the impact that you have, the opportunities to have an impact are every day, every moment that you're working with a child.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't have it in you.
No.
I definitely have been there. Mm-hmm. Where you're like, I don't have it in you. I don't have it in me for you right now. Like, I can't take on more. And that's a hard place to be in. Mm-hmm. And I see that when it happens. And I try to avoid doing that when it's really important.
Sure.
When it's a big deal like this. Like, where you were like, oh, your whole education could be shaped in this moment.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have access to this more rigorous program and this different community of students if I do this.
Yeah.
If I take on this extra work for you. And it's going to be worth it. And maybe, like, I wonder is he still alive? Is he
I don't
retired?
know. I mean,
that would be amazing to, like, catch up with him and be like, hey.
I do. I've done that a couple of times, like track down old professors and things like that, but not somebody from. I take it back. My high school chorus teacher, I did have a moment, about 10 years ago, and told him, like, hey, that was a lifeline.
Yeah.
That was a lifeline.
Yep. Yeah, my high school English teacher as well is still in our community. Mm-hmm. Linda Draper.
Oh, I love Linda Draper. I always forget that you know Linda.
Oh yeah, she's an incredible educator.
Yeah.
Very similar situation, actually. I just registered for honors sophomore English, which was what she taught, and I was like transferring in. My freshman year was so chaotic. At this point, like, I was really going through some stuff. I was a very difficult student, like, very difficult. And I've had a few students that were like remind me of myself, and that's problematic because then you're just like, I know exactly what's happening, but you're making me suffer so much. But you have so much potential. It's really it's hard. And I actually caught up with Linda at some point. It's strange to call her by her first name.
I know,
sometimes,
right?
Like, when you
Mrs.
get
Draper.
out of school. But like, she didn't have to actually, like, let me into honors. I didn't have any of the actual qualifications to do that. None. But I showed up and I took it seriously. And that class was the beginning of something for me. It definitely changed my life in a huge way. And her influence on me as a mentor as well was very, very significant. She really believed in me, and I've caught up with her about it since then. And her reply was, well, when you see a flame, you blow on it. And it's just like, it's just such a beautiful thing to say. And it makes so much sense, really. Like, being an educator now, like, and looking back, like, you're right. And I'm compelled to do the same things. And I'm in that lineage. I've chosen that path to connect from Linda Draper forward through my whole education, finding my mentors, and then now becoming a mentor myself. It's really a profound experience, I think.
Yeah, it's a trip. And like, I love that you said like we get to be humans.
We do.
Right? Yeah. It's really weird for kids to see us in the shopping center sometimes.
It is. It's so funny when kids see me out of context. Okay, I have just a side tangent because this reminded me of them. So I'm also a musician. We have established this.
Yeah, metalhead.
I decided to wear my hair down and just look a little, hair down today, look a little metal. But anyway, I've been playing a lot of shows lately. We have new material. We're getting it out there.
Okay, and let's clarify, like with national touring bands.
Okay.
Calling you to step in.
That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
You're not just like hanging out on the sidewalk.
No.
Okay.
That's true. Yes. And I'm deeply embedded in the music community here in Northern California. Like it's my thing. These are my people also. It's my other, supportive, wonderful community. But there's a local venue in town that we often play at, and it's the only venue in town that has all ages shows anymore. Post-pandemic hit small towns really hard, and especially small town music scenes just profoundly. So a lot of those places closed, and for me, those places are absolutely vital to youth culture in a small town, because it's positive, it's creative, it's expressive, it's cathartic.
Yeah.
Like playing music, playing in bands, that's very dear to me. Being creative is very close to my heart. It's my other language. And anyway, so the story is that I'm playing show. I played a number of shows locally, and students are always asking me, "When's your next show? When's your next show?" Which in and of itself is a strange interaction to have with students.
Like, hey, high schooler, come to this metal show.
Yeah, I know, because this is not like,
hey, country high schooler.
This is kind of extreme, on the edge of extreme music that I'm playing. Like, it's heavy. It's distorted. It's loud. There's screaming. It's scary. I say it's scary. It's scary music. But kids love it. Like punk is coming back in a big way.
Heck yeah!
All and goth and emo music. All of that is the stuff that kids are doing right now. It's adorable. It's very cute.
Well, it's got the feels.
I know.
Right? It's like emotion forward.
Exactly. So yeah, I had a couple students that really wanted to come, and so they came to this one show, and they were just like, just so excited to be there. And it was really funny. They went up to the merch table to buy some T-shirts, which they, of course, wore to school the next day. But they went up to the merch table, and my girlfriend was there, and they were like, "Are you Mr. Collins' girlfriend?" and she goes, "And then, Nathan, I said yes, and they squealed." It was so funny, but the point is that whole interaction happened, and then suddenly all of my friends are like, "Oh yeah, you're Mr. Collins," and so it was like, I was like, "You know what you did?" Like the next day, I'm like, "You know what you did?" Like, no one calls me Mr. Collins in my life ever, like anywhere in any context whatsoever, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, huh?" So I'm like, so now everyone's making fun of me. It's a new thing.
I love
that. So
that.
it's just like, Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins.
Yeah, great.
Right.
It's funny.
Well, it's funny,
almost
but
like
it's so...
I'm putting on this different suit, but that's so not a vibe that I have.
No.
I'm pretty close to who I actually am in a classroom, because for me, it's really important to be a human.
Yeah.
Because kids don't respond to inauthentic.
Well, they respond, but it's not pleasant.
It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
And I don't view teaching as a performance.
No.
I know some teachers do. And
and back to like, we're lucky we haven't had to.
I definitely haven't had to.
We always have to keep that.
I always have to qualify that because truly I'm not required to play. I'm not required to read a script.
Yeah.
I get to speak my own words.
Yeah. Wear t-shirts and jeans and
it's very, I don't even own a pair of slacks.
Yeah.
Like, this is an outfit I would wear
Sure.
to teach. And,
Yeah.
I appreciate that I have that privilege, but yeah, it's
well, but like, talking about relationships, that's so important. Authenticity. And like, I love when kids stumble upon, like, we have a pretty cool faculty here. I
love our team.
We've got like people that are script writers, like working professional script writers. We've got, you tour. The first time I knew was you're like, oh, I lost a flip flop when I was on tour in Florida. And I'm like, what?
We were talking about flip flops as like summer or something. And I was like, I lost my favorite flip flops in Florida. Stupid Florida.
Yeah, stupid Florida. Well, and like, playing shows and the kids know that. And then we've got, our friend Daniel, who's in a very successful band.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I play
Shout out Surrogate.
It's wonderful.
They just dropped a new record.
It's so good. And I actually love playing their music with the explicit filter on in class. And they're like, who's this? And I'm like, oh, this is Mr. Martin Band. And they're like, what? Like, what? Yeah. And like one of our faculty members was a former Ninja Warrior. Did you not know that?
Who?
Katie.
No way!
Yes, like she didn't end up. She was like going through the audition process, and then she wasn't able to do the competition. But absolutely, she was an American Ninja Warrior.
That's so
you heard
cool.
it here first.
Oh, yeah, I can see it though now. I totally believe it. That makes so much sense.
I mean, there's so many people that have lives out. We all have lives out of school.
We all have lives out of school.
But what's fun is that we don't have to hide that here.
Yeah.
And like, I love that next day. I remember, my daughter was so mad that I didn't go to that show. I was just like, honey, like, I love you, but that is late.
Because the two students I'm talking about are like close friends.
They're
of his,
real
of
close
his
friends
daughter,
with my daughter. She was
like,
so upset. I would let her go again.
Yeah, and so I was like, if she wants to go, like, after we pack up the gear, I'll just drive her
She's
home.
with the band.
It's not that. It's fine.
But what I was going to bring up was like that next day, like it was cool. And like when kids stumble upon this and like kids listen to our podcast.
Dude, that.
You know who you are out there.
That has been.
It's such a trip. Like, okay, so here we go. I won't name names because they're current students and that's just not okay.
Not okay.
But we all know that weird, like, tinny, super high treble noise that a phone makes when kids are watching a video. Like, I don't know about you, but it makes my skin crawl on like an audiological level and as a teacher.
Yeah. By the way, children, turn your phone volume
down. If you're going to sneak a phone, just read the captions.
Come on, man.
Right? But so and we all know this child.
Yes.
And so wonderful. Cool. I love this group of kids.
Yeah,
and so it's always the good ones, right? It's always the fun ones. So anyway, so I'm sitting in class and I'm like, what is that noise? Oh my word, somebody's watching a movie. Like somebody's chilling on Netflix in the middle of my class. What is going on with this? And I look over and I'm like, it was you? Like what? Like what? That group of kids?
Yeah, what are you doing?
And then I recognized it was our voices. And I was like, are you listening to my podcast? And he's like, yeah, it's fantastic. And I'm like, what? And like the three of them, I mentioned it. They're all like huddled over there watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, turn that off. Like if you want to learn something from me, I'm literally right here. And Collins is across the hall.
There's only like 20 minutes left.
And they're like, there's only 20 minutes left. It's the best part. And I'm like, what? First off, like the best part? The whole thing is about professional development for educators. And he goes, yeah, it's super interesting. I've never even thought about teachers having to like keep learning. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, please turn that off for now.
Yeah. No, I've had the exact same experience where like a student will pull up the podcast in class. I'm like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
You could talk directly to me.
Yeah. And it's so fun.
So
like,
funny.
you know, my TikTok presence, and like I'm out there, right? Like I'm out there all over YouTube and TikTok and all those kinds of things.
I need to get out there more.
And it's so funny when like the newbie comes in and I'll use some reference or a kid will reference to it. And well, I shouldn't say never. There was that moment where I was like, this is so weird. A kid found my TikTok.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, there's nothing there to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
I've always believed like if you're gonna put it on social media, you better be fine with it.
With everyone seeing
everybody
it. With
seeing
your mom,
it.
with your dad,
Yeah.
with everybody.
And so, like Jesus should watch my TikTok.
Jesus,
right?
Yes.
I'm fine with it. There's your sound clip. So, anyways,
Jesus should watch.
You know, it's always fun when like the new kid comes in and then they get all like boasty and they're like, "Whoa, you're on TikTok." And some other kid is like, yeah, we like watching his TikTok. And he has like 20,000 followers, so shut up.
Mr. Carr has clout, bro.
Mr. Carr has clout, bro. Not that that's a lot, but it's just funny. And it's back to authenticity.
Right.
It's authentic. It's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast. Because you and I believe strong in, we always say like, do the thing. Do the
thing.
actual thing with the real tools. And so I always talk so much in my English classes about like, look, you're not here to learn to write a paper. You're not here to learn to read a book and talk about it. You're here to learn how to communicate, because to communicate is to be human.
Yes.
And so I actually talk about like my class is about the humanization process, becoming more human by learning to communicate.
Totally.
And this is how I communicate. I do podcasts and I do TikTok. Said no one ever 2 years ago.
Yeah, no.
You know, but that relationship carries, and it can be scary sometimes.
It can,
right? It can be scary.
It can be. You have your, you know, yeah, like I feel like so many teachers, especially new teachers, young teachers, who haven't lived a lot of life yet.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of were like, oh, I went to college and then I did the credential program and now I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Like direct lineage through the program. It's kind of like, well, you're still figuring out who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
Like, and you got a lot to do related to that. And so you're trying to figure out who you are as a teacher, and you're trying to figure out what it means to be a teacher, and you're trying to figure out who you are, and are you just a teacher, or do you do other things? Is this, like, it seems like those people really struggle in the classroom sometimes because they're only this much ahead
tiny.
of those students.
Well,
and then being authentic is terrifying.
It's terrifying
because you're trying. I need people to respect me.
Right.
I need to be able to hold this space.
I have an idea of how I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Which is totally not true. Right.
Yeah. Or
totally
unless
not
your
true.
school is
unless your school is
making you be that way.
It's awful.
Yes.
You know, and that idea of like, it's not safe sometimes, but I just thought back to like that Carl Jung quote, like it's the warmth. Right? Warmth is active.
Right.
Cold is retraction. Warmth requires action to happen. And
it comes from the heart. You have to mean it. You have to mean it.
And like that's scary. Like to be vulnerable as a professional with, well, I mean, let's face it, volatile children. Sometimes, you know, like teenagers can be crazy.
They can be, and
you know?
I mean, there's
and
a
like,
real issue with violence against teachers now.
And we're in teenage land right now. But like I've taught in elementary, like first graders are barely human. You heard it here.
Little critters.
Yeah, God love them. They're fantastic. I've been called mom so many times.
So much energy, so much energy, and just wild creativity that makes no sense.
I'm so excited because the kids that I taught for first, second, and third grade, the same group of kids.
Yeah.
They're coming to high school next year.
Oh my god!
And a couple of them are coming to our high school. I'm so excited. Like I'm excited to see them.
That's so cool.
I'm actually excited. But I was thinking about just a quick story. You know, like the vulnerability builds super strong relationship, and it's scary. And so telling moment. So I grew up very religious. I'm still really religious, right? I'm part of the LDS community, which shocks a lot of people.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like, Like we were like fully homies.
Yeah.
When it finally sunk in for me, I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Just, Jake does not proselytize, and he does not.
No.
It's just, it's the principles of the thing that you're living by.
It's always
I
made sense
respect
to
that.
me on a principle ground, basics, be a good human
Yeah.
level.
And really,
Yeah, and
that
like
is the valuable thing.
Yeah, and I was never. My family was
religious
never
communities.
wrapped into the ugliness of the culture of the LDS world. Sometimes, like I don't want to sugarcoat that at all. There's some ugly culture out there.
Yep.
Absolutely, but I digress. So, that's how I grew up, and I had a mentor in high school. So Carol Meyer.
Carol Meyer.
We're saying the name.
Teacher,
I know. Carol Meyer was a biology teacher in Paradise in the 90s, probably in the 80s, but I graduated in 94. And so, like 93, she was my biology teacher, and I think I got a D in biology. But we liked being together. Like Carol was cool, and we vibed cool, right?
Yeah.
And so I became her TA, which is really funny for like the D biology kid to like his senior year become a TA.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I was not a good TA. I was not a good TA.
It's like nothing's organized.
No,
and
nothing.
going
Like
on.
she put me in charge of like the supply closet, and I think I told you yesterday a story about like we were dissecting fetal pigs.
God,
Right? Do they even still do that?
I think they do.
Yeah, so we were dissecting fetal pigs, and like it got pushed right up until Christmas break, and so the dissection wasn't complete. And so she actually like, well, she won't get in trouble. She's retired. So she like gave me the keys to the high school. Okay, it was a different time. I had 2 teachers do that actually. 3 teachers.
Whoa.
3 teachers at that high school gave me keys.
Very trustworthy.
I was
young man.
trustworthy. I was cool, but and I never did anything bad with it. But anyways, so she gave me the keys to the biology room, and then like the adjoining lab, like the storage area, right?
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to go in during during Christmas break, and all the fetal pigs had been put into like 5-gallon buckets.
Yeah, like formaldehyde.
Formaldehyde.
Right? Yeah, preserve 'em.
And it was my job to top it off and keep it because it was evaporating.
Right, because if it's open, yeah.
And she gave me the wrong key.
No.
She gave me the wrong key. And like pre-cell phone, right? Like I didn't just have a way to connect with Carol
Right.
or the school or the anything. And so I just let it ride. And we came.
It'll be fine.
So we came back.
It's winter break.
It's fine. We came back, and I checked in with her really early in the morning, and she had already been there, and the whole place smelled like rotting fetal pigs and formaldehyde. Like it was awful. And so we cleaned, and that was our relationship. We hung out together, and then she even threw me a graduation party.
Aw.
I think about like, wow, that was wildly inappropriate. And then I'm like, why would that be wildly inappropriate?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little bit illegal because we were playing lawn darts.
Lose a limb that way.
I don't know if it was illegal back then. It is now, apparently. But anyways, what I wanted to bring up was, as a member of a church community that is not LGBTQ friendly, and that hurts me actually.
Yeah.
I have a lot of pain around that because I am super friendly.
Yeah.
Carol is a member of that community. And there was always like the whisperings back then. This was 94,
Back then,
right?
And that's a different time.
In a tiny mountain town.
Yeah.
Tiny
And
mountain
that's
town.
A lot of people saying gay and it not
Yeah.
being
No.
okay thing.
And
that you're saying.
so after I graduated, I was kind of like, what do I do? What am I going to do? I was kind of literally wasting my time at the junior college, biding my time. And I kind of decided like, I think I might want to become a missionary because that's something that our church does.
Yeah.
And I remember making my way to hang out with Carol for lunch, and we were sitting on these steps outside, and gosh, I just honor her so much. Like, I was dangerous to her.
Yeah. Yep.
Like a Mormon in the 90s was dangerous to a lesbian teacher.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And like, I wasn't.
Yeah,
I loved her.
child.
I would have never been. But I remember Carol saying, gosh, I'm all choked up. It's like the 3rd time today.
It's a lot of emotion. For it.
I love Carol.
Yeah.
And
Huge impact on you.
Carol told me to do that. totally contrary to everything that was beneficial to her as a human being.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Like, no, I want you to go become a proselyting missionary and spread the word of people that hate me. Like, I could distill it down to that, right? And she did, and I did, and I was able to. I went to the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I you know,
and then those
almost the very first flight I ever
amazing.
took was to move to another continent and learn to speak Dutch for 2 years. And but I look back because it's not always safe to do the right thing.
Yes.
Carol could have said, like, I don't know if that's the path for you. You know, because I'm sure she doesn't agree with that.
No.
There's no possible way. But what she knew is that it was a way out for me.
Yeah.
And like, that was a life-changing, shaping 2 years.
Yeah.
To like leave that little mountain town,
So geographically.
move to Amsterdam, learn to speak 2 different languages.
Amsterdam people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Literally the very first thing I saw in the Netherlands, like when I was on my own, like after I had like checked in and stuff like that, is the doors of the train opened up and there was a poster in the train station of a fully naked woman with a cowboy hat holding a stick of gum. And it said, choose Sport Life gum. I remember being like, where am I?
This is not Kansas.
This is not
Kansas.
Kansas anymore. We are not in paradise anymore. But to come back to that idea of relationship, like, and I have seen Carol since.
That's
It's
awesome.
been a long time.
Yeah.
And actually, she's moved back to town, and I
really?
do need to get in touch with her.
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, a mutual friend of ours was like, "Oh my gosh, Carol moved back to town. She'd love to see you." So I do need to talk to her. But it's not easy. It's easy to build simple relationships.
Yeah.
But it is not easy because building meaningful relationships can feel dangerous as a teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you say the wrong, truthful, well-meaning thing to a student, and their parents will end your career.
Yep. Think about any other job. That's a professional career that requires advanced education and training, where that's a thing.
Yeah.
That.
And I don't mean like being inappropriate. I mean like saying
No.
an honest, true, I care about you as a human being. You asked, I'm going to tell you something. You can get fired for that as a teacher.
Absolutely. Vilified.
Vilified.
You've had some
Some
issues this year.
Had some issues this year.
A lot of things are getting strange out there.
Yeah. It's and back to your like a new fledgling teacher trying to find that way. God. I'm like, I have 16 years and a successful outside of my school educational career as clout.
Yeah.
To be like, no, I'm sorry. Well, here's what it is. They were coming after a book I'm teaching. Mm-hmm. That's been the way of education right now. Every English teacher lives in fear that some parent is going to hate the book that they're teaching. I don't want to belabor that. Maybe we'll save it for another one. But teaching a book on the approved list. They hated it, wanted to get me fired. And they found out that was not a cliff that they could scale.
No.
Because of who I am as a human being and as an educator in our community. If I was a first-year teacher, it's easier to just let them go.
Sometimes.
Which is awful.
Yep. It is.
And it's a good thing, back to relationship, it's a good thing that I have a very strong relationship with our administration, our board,
and
the parents.
Our admin too, totally have our back.
Yeah, they totally have my back. Absolutely have my back. But that happened.
Yeah.
And I'm still apprehensive. Like, okay, next year I better just brace myself because here it comes.
You really got put through the ringer with that one. That was a hard time.
It was a hard time.
But yeah, coming after texts is strange to me, and it is good to have the relationships built. Like even when you were going through all that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to dwell on this too much, but even when you were going through all that, you had relationship to the people that were.
They were literally
you out.
fighting to keep kids in my classroom
Yep.
at the same time as saying I was slinging pornographic texts at students.
Yeah. And
And I'm like, how do you do that
words were used.
rationalization of like, we respect and honor his ability to teach our children so deeply that we are fighting to make certain that they can stay in that classroom. And just to be clear, like we're an independent study high school. I was like, yeah, no problem at all. You don't want to read the text? That's fine.
Yeah,
It's,
here you go.
we're a homeschool.
Yeah.
I've already done this. Here's a whole unit.
do this unit
Do it on
independently.
any novel that you want. You're going to learn the same standards. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I really, truly believe a parent's right to choose. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like,
That's why we're here.
they were fighting, like literally at the same time as trying to get me fired, fighting to have their kid stay in my class because they love it so much. So
I don't know.
I don't understand that one, but
I don't know.
so I don't know where to go with all of this. It's so important.
Relationship
it's
is the number one. So as we're kind of getting a field of what we really wanted to talk about because of, because education is so strange. There's some issues that we really need to talk about that are affecting the ways that we're engaging in building relationship.
Yeah.
They're getting in the way of those things.
And they need to be said more.
Absolutely. 100%.
100%. Like we talked about vulnerability and safety and it is scary as a teacher to like, take your jacket off and be a human in a t-shirt.
Yep.
Kind of a situation with
Absolutely.
with students that you care so deeply about, right? Like, I mean, we all, anyone who has been around education has that kind of little clutch of students that are our favorites, right? We're human. I get to say that.
Yeah.
And not because the other ones are somehow awful. We jived differently.
Like I'm not going to connect with every student.
No.
I'm my own person. I have my own personality. I have my own teaching style. It works wonderfully for some students. It doesn't work for other students.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. That's being a human being.
Yeah, I think that's why like diversity is super important. Right? Like you and I are very different, and we're also very alike, right?
Right.
When we have that diversity in a staff, the kids who like houseplants, they come to my room, like they like that. Mm-hmm. And then like the sporty kids go to the other kid. And so hopefully just that every kid finds somewhere to land. That's what's important, right? But if you can't be authentic, you can't be a beacon for that kid to find.
Exactly. Like
they don't know who you are unless you can be who you are. Absolutely. And then they can't find the help that they need so that, to go back to the very beginning without getting too heavy, like, I mean, we're in a mental health crisis. Yeah. Like I remember early credential and that saying like, it takes one caring adult to shift the life of a child.
Right.
Great. Can we not stop at one?
Yeah.
And also like, yeah, absolutely. So we're going to wrap it up here, but we're going to continue this conversation. There's going to be an episode 2. We've been into it because we've been talking so much today about relationship and how that got you and I through not an easy childhood.
No.
We've shared a lot about childhood.
Absolutely.
Right? You and I have been very vulnerable with each other, which is why we're who we are together.
Yeah.
And those teachers along the way, like you talked about Linda, I love Linda, and Mike Jenga and Carol Meyer and these other people and the music venue. And these are all authentic places. And so we've decided we're going to keep filming.
Yeah. Volume 1, Volume 2.
Volume 1, Volume 2. Volume 2 is going to be like, how do we now take that role for another student?
Yeah.
How do I become, and have I become, the vulnerable adult willing to be responsible and respectful of the career and help that child?
Honor the lineage.
Honor the lineage. I love that phrase. Honor the lineage. Like, because I can only think that, like, you know, Mrs. Clark, my little kindergarten teacher who said I looked nice as the giant, you know, when she was going to in school in what would have been probably the 40s,
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
I remember she was old back then.
Yeah.
Who helped her, who helped that person, you know, and it's not always through school, but so stay tuned, and we hope that you will join us for episode 2 about relationship and moving into the future of how do we, as active educators in the trenches, in the field, on the front line. I hate all of those because they're militarily themed, and yet it works.
It's boots on the ground.
It's boots on the ground. How do we pay it forward? How do we become a beacon for a kid who needs it?
Right. Because we are not mental health professionals, right?
Yeah.
We don't have that training. We're trained as educators. But the tools that we have are relationship. Those are the tools that we have. And if anything's getting in the way of that, we can't do the job.
No. And being a teacher is painful.
It is. It is right now.
It's like that. What do they call that? The exquisite pain in French.
Yeah.
Right? There's a pain
Yeah.
to forming relationships with students.
There is. I mean, yeah. Like, you know,
Because you care so, you've seen the road.
Yeah.
And they don't always take the help.
No, they don't.
All right, let's save that for the next episode.
Yeah.
I hope you'll join us and interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. We had a couple of questions today, like, do we get too deep and philosophical for you? I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
And also, like, send a shout out to your mentors. Who got you here? Who was vulnerable? Who faced possible unsafety to get you there?